Taco Tuesday
Okay, now
every
we're
day.
live. Yeah, it's Taco Tuesday every day. So I thought I pressed the live button, so y'all didn't get to see our lovely intro. That is my bad. But we do got a great show for y'all today. And we have a special guest star as well, who is a contributor for Alpha Ball Network and who's a hell of a writer as well. But before we get into our show, we got to show our first sponsor, and that is What a Clean Solution. So get your carpets clean, couches, tile, and grout, move in or moving out, and need your place to look new. Call What a Clean Solution, a family mobile cleaning service that can clean anything from a small carpet to even making your car or truck look like new. Give them a call or a text at 210-790-1410 and use the promo code T and the and button T for 5% off your total cleaning, and that is the promo code TNT at 210-790-1410 for 5% off. So shout out to What a Clean Solutions for sure. Oh, man, I didn't know you left.
Sorry about that. Yeah, sorry. I'm having technical issues. So for those that know who follow me enough know that I do work as a producer with iHeart Studios. I had to get to the studio today. I don't have to be there just yet, but I want to be able to record this show earlier ahead of time so we had time to talk about this. We got stuff we got to talk about.
Yeah, absolutely. So our first topic is Zack Martin is holding out, and there's reports that he's going to hold out in training camp because he wants to get that contract, and he's getting older, but he's still playing at a high level, and he wants to get his money because right now he's number four as the highest paid right guards in the league. So, what's your opinion on about Zack Martin holding out?
Yeah, he's actually ranked seventh in terms of overall guards on a per year
Oh,
basis. His contract expires at the end of next season. I think he really wants some assurance that he's going to be in at least the immediate long term plans. And this entire time we've been talking about Dak Prescott's contract, CeeDee Lamb, Tyler Bionis, Trayvon Diggs, Dak Prescott, because he's gonna his contract is gonna open up cap space, but no one really knows that for sure like who all is gonna get paid. And now Zack Martin all of a sudden wants to get his deal done too because his expires at the end of next year, and he's only in his I believe he's only 32, but he's
yeah,
still considered one of, if not the best guard in the league. In fact, he was actually rated number 90 as a 99 overall in Madden, and that they don't give that to just anybody. And so, yeah, I guess first of all, the Cowboys have to ask themselves is, do they really want to go through more offensive line drama? We don't know if Terrence Steele is going to be available to start the season. We don't know what game because it's going to happen when Tyron Smith will eventually go down. If you lose Zack Martin, your offensive line is essentially shot because then at that point you only have two starters left from last year in Tyler Smith and Tyler Biotis. As far as his contract evaluation goes, I agree he should be paid much higher. Right now, I believe the highest paid guard is Quentin Nelson and Alec Lindstrom, if I'm not mistaken. And Zack Martin, in my opinion, is better than both those guys. I think if age really is a concern, then they really should have let Tyron Smith go because Tyron Smith is older. If they're talking about opening up contract money because the Cowboys still care about contract. Not only do they care about cap space, they care about contract rollover into next year. Whatever cap space they don't have goes over into the following season. I I don't think the hold lasts because I think he knows that I don't think he can take the fines. I don't think he wants to take the loss from not playing. I think he just wants his money, and I think there's more to this than what we're actually being presented.
yeah, I think that is just he's one of Jerry's guys. Wants to get this one. I Zach Martin has only allowed uh, that's what he only missed 8 games in 2014. 2 games of knee injury, 16 for knee injury, and two for a calf injury. So out of 2014, he only missed 8 games, and he has and he's only allowed more than 3 sacks in his whole career. Like outside of that, it's only been 1 or 0 sacks. He's one of those guys. And when you think of a Zach Martin, he brings technique, power, and he brings that nastiness which you look for in a guard. And we're gonna try to see. I know we got Shane has technical difficulty, but it's all good. We'll see what we got.
I'm sorry. I
No, you're good,
really
bro.
am.
That's all good. So I was just talking a little bit more what type of value Zach Martin brings, and another thing about Zach Martin, he's very well disciplined when it comes to like he's not going to be penalized like that. He's only had 20 penalties in his whole career, two holding calls, two false
That's
starts.
astounding. That's
Yeah,
astounding.
yeah,
Because
because
that's 1,000+ snaps a season.
yeah, it's like I think the most he had, it was like over 13,000. One of his, I'll have the numbers only, but just looking at what he's brought to this team, like, hey, give this man his money, restructure his contract a little bit more for because I think he still is going to bring a lot of value to the Cowboys, even at 32. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, okay. Sorry, your voice cut out. Once again, I'm having to record this remotely.
I don't know, it's all good, but yeah, that's. I just think they're going to definitely get that contract done for Zach
They
because
have to. They have no one else left, like health wise, from that great wall of Dallas that they wanted to restart. They had Lel Collins, Ron Leary, Tyler, not Tyler, sorry, Travis Frederick. He's their last line of offense.
yeah, they don't have no leverage if they let Zach Martin hold out because well, you got Tyler Smith and then Tyron, you don't know if he's going to be healthy or not. So what kind of leverage do you have? Tyler Gosh is good, but he's only a center. But before we go into our next segment and have our guest on, is we need to give show love to our second sponsor, and that is SeatGeek. SeatGeek, the lifestyle event. We have the tickets, concert, games, shows, and more. Use promo code all capital letters tacos touchdowns to get $20 off your first purchase. SeatGeek, a ticket for every fan. So let's see if I can add our guest in, Omar. What's going on, Omar?
What's up, Aaron and Shane? Thanks for having me on.
Yes, sir. So
Give him a
I
proper.
appreciate you.
Say it's Omar. Give him a proper intro.
Yes, sir. I was going to add on more to it. So he's a contributor for Off the Ball Network and is a freelancer as well when it comes to writing. Like every morning I see one of his great content out there. It's like y'all definitely need to check out his stuff on Off the Ball Network. And am I forgetting any other website they can check out your writing at?
Yeah, so off the ball, of course, where you find all my stuff. Also on Medium, if you are a medium.com subscriber, also. But yeah, you see me all over the place. Definitely just talk about everything. And yeah, I saw you guys teased what the topic was, and I was like, oh, I just wrote an article about that. Let me see if Aaron and
Yeah,
Shane
hey,
will want
Omar.
to have me on.
Omar, I wanted to ask you because since we're talking about the running back evaluation, there are three running backs: Saquon
Mhm.
Barkley, Josh Jacobs, and in this case, Tony Pollard, all
Yep.
tagged. Tony Pollard is the one who signed. The other two are to be decided.
Mhm.
Me and Aaron talked about the running back evaluation. We talked about this last time actually about how it potentially will be going down, or
Mhm.
at the very least the tag rush, because it's the average of the top five contracts. Le'Veon Bell's contract was at one point I think 13 something back when he was tagged. It was 10.9 for Tony this year. What do you think running backs will have to do in order to get back to being that marquee position?
Yeah, the way I look at it, guys, you look at the way the game has changed, right? It's a spacing game now, right? It's all about getting the ball out to your playmakers in space, getting it like you look at what Miami's done with their receivers with Waddle and Tyreek Hill. They get them on the low bubble screens, low mid screens, quick slants, whatever. You want to get these guys who could break tackles that ball in space, right? And I think running backs need to be a bigger part of the receiving equation to be able to be factored in that way. If you almost want it to be like where you're not even considered a running back anymore, you're more of a utility player. Think of like how a Percy Harvin was back in the day, right? Where, yeah, he's technically a receiver, but he does a lot of jet sweeps, he does a lot of different gadget type plays and things of that nature. And when you have a running back doing that, and because you hear running back, you hear Derrick Henry give him the ball 25 times up the middle, right? Take a pounding. But what they really should be focusing on is 15 or so traditional rushing carries, a few snaps at the slot receiver position, jet sweep action, and a little bit in the screen game as well. So I think that's the way you have to increase the value is with the production. The issue is you're going to get pushback from owners, right? they're like, well, the position's dead. I want to pay this guy. Dallas has made that decision. New York made that decision, as has Las Vegas. And, so I don't know if you guys know, I'm a Giants fan, right? Which is kind of funny talking to a couple Cowboys guys, but all love. But, Saquon Barkley's a great player. He was the engine of the Giants offense this past year. Do I think that guy deserves to get paid? Yeah, of course I do. But the position has determined a different thing, and you get that a lot, like where defensive ends are always going to get paid more than defensive tackles, right? Doesn't matter who it is. And that's just kind of the nature of it. And I think they need to reshape the narrative of the position, right? It's no longer I'm going to get the ball on a traditional handoff 25 times a game. It's how can I take 15 to 20 touches, regardless of how they come, pass or run or whatever position I start in, and just be a game breaker. And that's the way I think you're going to have the evolution, I guess, of the way we look at running backs.
So when it comes
Is
to
there any way potential? Aaron, go ahead. I'll ask the last question.
so when it comes to these rookies coming in, these running backs in the draft, you think I read into your article, you think having like those shorter deals so they can have that opportunity to get that next deal instead of them waiting until they're like 26 or 27 and all they're getting is 1 year deals. You think that should be one of the things they should do when it comes to these running backs? And
Yeah, so this might sound crazy, and I kind of suggested this in the article. I wouldn't be opposed to a one and done like rule for running backs in college. How many times have we seen a running back as a true freshman or redshirt freshman, maybe, or even a sophomore, just tear it up and look like this guy is wasting away in college for another year before he gets to the league? You think about Adrian Peterson at Oklahoma when, like, he was ready for the NFL after his freshman season at OU. You think about Maurice Clarett. He had a monster freshman season at Ohio State before the wheels fell off. And it makes you wonder if we've made the determination after 28 years old, we don't want to give these guys big money. If you then have them coming in the league at 20 instead of 22, that gives them 2 extra years. A former Cowboy, Ezekiel Elliott, he was probably ready after his second year in college, but he had another year of wear and tear at Ohio State as a junior. And then he was able to jump into the league. And I think it's something where we need to reconsider it. Somebody on Twitter made a point about Philip Lindsay, running back who was most recently in the XFL. And he had 2,000-yard rushing seasons for Denver back in a few years back, right? This is a guy who never was able to get paid because he was a first-round pick, 5 years of team control. And then by the time he's done, he's already 27. They're like, well, we're done with you. Same thing that we're seeing happening with Dalvin Cook with Minnesota. So you're looking at a situation there where, like, they're not getting paid, and every single player and position is getting paid now. Tight ends are getting paid. Obviously, quarterbacks are getting paid. Receivers are getting big money. But the only one where the franchise tag is dipping, to your point earlier, Shane, about the tag number for Pollard at 10.9 is running backs. That's the only one that's going down. Whereas we're seeing quarterbacks making 40 plus million, receivers making big time money, now tight ends making big time money. So I understand the gripe, that backs have, because they have the shortest shelf life and they're discarded the quickest. And the data's there to showcase that there's reasoning why that is. But I do think, and having to the contract point, a 2-year deal, a 3-year deal, which again isn't long-term security, but it still allows you to get multiple big deals as opposed to maybe hoping for one that might not ever come.
Okay, so I want to turn it back a little bit. You did mention Dalvin Cook, and Dalvin Cook's a popular name that's been attached to the Dolphins and even the Cowboys, just because both those teams could really use like some extra legs. First of all, a lot of people, I guess it's really a 2-part question, right? The first part would be his market valuation seems to be somewhere around 5 to 7 mil for maybe a 1-year deal if he wanted to approve it. And part 2 would be, is his services really that necessary just because of the amount of decent free agents at running back that are still available?
That's the toughest part, right? There's every year, a bunch of running backs come in through the draft. There's There's some you look at Pacheco in Kansas City, seventh round pick, and he became like their focal attack point with rushing the ball. And you could say Dalvin Cook is a type of player who gives you a lot of versatility. Is he worth 5 million a year? Yeah, I think he's worth 5 million a year. I mean, if I'm Miami and I have those receivers and a good tight end and a quarterback who has a problem with concussions, we want to get much pressure off of him as possible. You get somebody like Dalvin Cook, the screen game, the draw game is going to open up crazy because of Tyreek and Waddle. So I think for that money, yeah, I mean it's a no-brainer. And the funny thing is that the prime year question, about when does the running back fall off the cliff, it seems like it goes down every single year. It used to be like 31, 30, and now it's 27. And it's crazy to me that like we just saw what Dalvin Cook was able to do this past year. He's still productive. Is still being he had a little bit of injury situation, I believe, this past year, but overall, I think for that low, for considering what the salary cap is and what the percentage hit of the cap that would be, yeah, it's a no-brainer to me for him to sign on with a Miami or even the Dallas, because you figure Dallas now, they had the whole two-headed thing going with Zeke and Pollard. Now Zeke is no longer in the picture. So you bring in another guy who's able to spell Pollard, because Pollard is going to be the focus this coming year, you would imagine, in their running game. And you bring in Dalvin Cook, and that makes them more dynamic for only 5 million a year. Yeah, cut the check.
I have to throw this out there just because Aaron and I talked about this last week also about the running back position and the tag. I look at a player like Kenneth Walker out in Seattle, who looked like he'd be a budding superstar. You look at Dameon Pierce out in Houston, who was like a really nice player drafted in the 4th round. And then you look at someone like Bijan, Aaron's guy, Bijan Robinson, drafted in the 1st round. He's the highest paid running back in the league as a rookie this year. Are we ever going to see that super mega contract from running back position ever again?
I think when you get that new breed of running back in a few years that's going to be able to be a weapon in the passing game in a very real way, then yes, you will. Like, I look at the Detroit Lions drafted Jahmyr Gibbs in the 1st round as well. As the second running back taken. So I think it was the first time in almost a decade that 2 running backs went in the 1st round. And you're looking at a guy who did a lot of stuff in the pass game at Alabama, and that's going to be the new prototype, I feel like. Because if you got somebody who could get you like 4 or 5 yards a carry and they carry the ball 10 plus times a game, but they could also be that security valve in the short passing game, that's incredibly valuable. I mean, that's you really look at. That's what tight ends have become, right? It used to be block first, maybe you catch a couple passes, Ben Coates style back in the 90s. But now it's your Travis Kelce's, your Darren Wallers, your George Kittles, these type of guys who can block a little bit, but their primary thing is really catching the ball and being kind of more of a possession receiver. So if running backs are able to do that, I think eventually you could see a demand. But the problem is you need to have the owners, you have to have one owner who's willing to cut that check, right? And that's the problem. They're all like, well, we're using our numbers here, and we're seeing the projection that after 28, you're not going to be very useful. So why am I signing you to this contract? And you probably want to see a running back who does the quote bet on himself thing and tries to do a short-term deal on the way to superstardom. Now, the limitations of the draft contract make that a problem, right? But that's the only path to me. Does it seem likely right now? Not really, because we're looking at, Pollard was an amazing back for the Cowboys last year. He's not getting a deal done. Josh Jacobs took over a few games for the Raiders. Saquon Barkley was the focal point of the Giants. These guys aren't able to come up to extensions, but we're being able to come into pretty favorable deals for a number 3 wide receiver. It just shows you the perception of the position. So it's almost like if you're a running back, you got to be almost like say, no, I'm not really a running back. I'm kind of more of a hybrid position, right? And if they lean into that, then that's probably the only way forward.
You think they basically would just have to change the name around where it'd be like a utility back where you like you're saying it could be a part of the passing game, a part of the running game, And do you think there's a market still for that kind of that traditional running back that can get those short yardage and still bring an impact on the team, or is that slowly down to like a fullback position?
Yeah, it feels like the only one left is Derrick Henry, right? That bruising in between the tackles power back. And I just think with the way the game is played now, like the slow possession receiver is also kind of extinct, right? Like you want somebody who's at the very least a quick first step route runner or just a burner who could go deep. And so the game's evolving. The game's more about speed. The game's more about space and throwing the ball a ton, right? That's kind of what the NFL is now. And all the rules have made it where receivers can be a lot more aggressive. So running backs need to take that same mindset where maybe it's less in between the tackle stuff, more toss sweep type action, outside stretch runs, in addition to whatever they do in the passing game. But yeah, it feels like that power back that we were so used to growing up is really a thing of the past.
Uh, is Shane in there? I
Looks a
think
little
Shane.
frozen.
Yeah, I think he's a little bit frozen. But oh, you there?
Yeah, I'm there. I was just saying, like Omar, I agree with everything you're saying. It sucks because for the longest time, the running back was the position everybody wanted to play. Everybody's favorite player for a long time was a running
Yeah.
back. My favorite player to this day, as a Cowboys fan, will always be Emmitt Smith. But those days of idolizing the running back in the same way we did back in the pretty much before 2010, it feels like that was kind of the cutoff. Those days are kind of gone, which is sad to see. But we appreciate your time and giving us the insight on the running back position because that's a lot more than I think we were willing to throw out there. But why don't you go and plug your channel and plug everything you do?
Yeah, for sure, man. First off, thanks again for having me. Obviously, my first time on your guys' show, but love to link up with all the off the ball guys. So catch me on Twitter at OmarZHRN. That's where all my new stuff is posted. Catch my written pieces on Off the Ball Network and on Medium as well. I also do if you're into basketball, do a basketball podcast called Worldwide Knicks, where we cover the New York
Go
Knicks.
Spurs.
Hey, real quick, if I may talk, because I'm a big NBA guy, so
Go ahead.
I'm a league pass fanatic, right? Like I get league pass every year, and so I'm telling you right now, every year I pick like one or two league pass teams. Like I'm like, all right, I'm gonna keep eye on this team and watch them whenever they're on.
Let me
The
hear it.
San Antonio Spurs are right at the top of the list. Obviously Wembanyama, right, is going to be must-see television, but they have a lot of young talent there that I really am interested in. I like Matt Branham a lot. I was watching him a lot closer last year because I had him in fantasy basketball, but I like what he could do. Johnson as well in there, and Sohan seems like a modern reincarnation of Dennis Rodman, which is fantastic. So yeah, I'll definitely be keeping an eye on the Spurs, and they're a fun young team to watch. Obviously, probably not gonna be good right away, but in a few years, that's a team that's probably gonna be in the upper echelon of the Western Conference, pending health.
Hope so.
I just like all the words you just said about it. Us back in there because it feel like
He
it's
said words I liked also.
Yeah. Like we definitely gonna have you on for sure after what you just said right there.
Hey man, anytime you hit my line, I'll be happy to join you guys up again. But appreciate you letting me jump on and wax poetic about these running backs.
Thanks, Omar.
Appreciate you.
Thank you.
So before we got a couple more topics to talk about today, and that is the hardest. Is this the end of HBO Hard Knocks? And is it the future of quarterbacks on Netflix? What do you think about that?
I'm gonna make this real quick and easy. Is that Hard Knocks is kind of the most overblown show there is. I think people just like that whole concept of like more interpersonal with the players. But the players, they have a camera in their face. They know how to put on a show. So even when they're being real, it's still a show. A lot of times you get the real information whenever like someone leaks something. Like you remember years ago when Antonio Brown and the Raiders were on Hard Knocks, and then later on we had the leaked audio for some reason of Antonio Brown and John Gruden on the phone call together. That's the real thing right there. I don't want to like Hard Knocks used to be you remember back when like it was like the Ravens and the Cowboys and the Jags like early in the season that was authentic, and then it became much more of a show, and it's become much more fake. And I think we even saw this year. The Jets are begrudgingly being forced to do hard knocks. No team wants to do it, and so I'm willing to bet like these Jets players are probably going to give the camera guys like little to work with. People are enamored with the Netflix series because the quarterback is the most popular position in football. Even if it's Kirk Cousins and Marcus Mariota, Pat Mahomes is what sold it, and Kirk Cousins and Marcus Mariota were along for the ride. I don't think Hard Knocks is going anywhere until the ratings go down, but I think they're going to have a competitor with this new show.
I honestly think this should kind of be the last season because, like you were saying, they literally got to force teams like to be in there. The only reason why they were looking at the Jets because of Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, because I
Yeah,
love Sauce Gardner. He's got a great personality, but you got to have more than just one person. Zach Wilson,
he,
he's the backup quarterback. Like, what else can you sell about the Jets?
that's the thing. Sauce Gardner is like pretty much Pat has like that Richard Sherman type of personality to him, but like he doesn't have the same kind of pedigree just yet.
Yeah, because you're looking at a guy that was just a rookie last year, but he definitely showing potential. But I think and then they're talking about limiting, like when it comes to where they're going to cut the players, they're cutting that out. So I don't know what they're going to do when that comes because that's the big trope that everybody loves because that's the main thing what people want to see. Oh, was this player going to make the team? But if you're going to cut that, what you are going to put involved? Just a bunch of Aaron Rodgers tropes, putting the camera on him. I can't hear you say. I think Yeah, but it just I think it's just time for them just this to be the end, and you just move to like the new future. Like I don't know if you remember like Last Chance You. That was a show that lasted for a good 5 seasons, and it was just like it was great, but it just knew when to end because you got to see JUCO football, and then you got to see JUCO basketball, but it wasn't like the same like when you're at EMC and everything. It's just like it was like okay, this is we finished. We're going to the next thing. Oh, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now. Sorry, I cut off for a sec.
Oh no, you good. Uh, I think we're just having a little technical.
I'm sorry, I really am. I'm sorry for the people who are either watching or listening to this show.
Oh,
Aaron can cut it out in the reshoot.
yeah, I'll work on something. But I know we're kind of short on time, but I just want to get this last thing out of the way. What is like we were talking about? What is the fourth most valuable position in the NFL beside quarterback?
Besides quarterback, I'll make it
Yeah.
real easy. I'll go. You want me to go 4 through 1 or 1 through 4?
We'll go 4 through 1 just to add a little spice to it.
Easy. Okay, I'm gonna make that real easy. Okay, so number 4 is actually cornerback. You need someone to shut down and stop the opposing quarterback. You need someone who's going to be able to lock in on the opposing receiver and be the shutdown guy for the secondary. Stop the big plays down deep. Number 3 is the actual number 1 receiver. Nowadays, the passing game has become so huge. Your quarterback needs that go-to guy. You look at some of you know what we talked about the marquee position for a long time as running back. It's receiver now. Think about it. Justin Jefferson, Devontae Adams, Jamar Chase, Tyreek Hill, Cooper Kupp, CeeDee Lamb, AJ Brown, Debo Samuel, all these guys. It's receiver. Number 2 is the edge rusher, the guy who's going to rush the quarterback and bring him to the ground. Defensive player of the year has become a defensive end award, just like the MVP has become a quarterback award. The best deep players on defense nowadays, everyone keeps looking at are edge rushers. Every now and then a cornerback is on there. Every now and then an inside linebacker is on there, but it's really the defensive ends. Let's not be kid ourselves. Let's not kid ourselves. And number 2 is the blind side offensive tackle. Now the only reason I call it blind side is because Tua is a lefty, so his blind side is on the right. But most time it's the left tackle. So whichever side is protecting the quarterback, the outside where the quarterback can't see is the most important. That position is protecting the quarterback from that marquee edge rusher that we were talking about, keeping him up, what. So that's why again, cornerback, wide receiver, defensive or edge rusher, really, and offensive tackle.
I'm not. This is not. We're not HBO Hard Knocks, but that's my list. I don't know if y'all can see it. I actually got the same thing with. But yeah, those are just the main values. Like 10 or 20 years ago,
It's the right answer.
Yeah, you just can't think of nothing else. The other, not saying the other positions aren't as valuable, but these are like the main ones that are gonna get paid and be an impact to the NFL team. Like left tackles, like you said, unless you're a left-handed quarterback, that left tackle is still going to be very important. He's got to protect you at all times. I'm just going to bring a one word and that a name, Joe Theismann. And you
I
do
was
your
gonna say
research
Andrew
on
Luck, but
Andrew.
yeah, Joe Theismann too. Shoot.
Yeah, I wanted to bring that to the old heads, but yeah, man,
There's
I
no other position that even comes close to those four.
yeah, yeah, you can't. There's really nothing you could really argue on, like who would you switch for that, because all those positions are very important. Like you can kind of call it weapon X when it comes to receiver one, because when it comes to Patrick Mahomes and Travis Kelsey, but that outside of that, it's the receiver one.
Yep.
But
Well, Travis Kelsey pretty much is receiver one.
yeah, he definitely just a receiver and a tight end's body. That's how you have to leave it at. But yeah, this was a great show. Appreciate Omar for coming on the show for sure. Definitely got to get
Yes.
him back on, especially after saying some good things about the Spurs. So we'll forgive him being a
Hopefully
giant.
next. Hopefully next. Hopefully next time I'll be in my home studio, not at the iHeart Studios.
Oh, it's all good. If we're gonna, if we could do it, if I'm doing it in my car and everything, we're still gonna do a show and give y'all this great content every Thursday, and we possibly will be doing some other days as well. But just stay on the loop for that. But this has been Tacos and Touchdowns. Y'all have a good one. Peace.
Peace.